Hello and welcome everyone to today's mini podcast episode where we talk about the ups and downs as a freelancer. If you have no idea what a mini podcast episode is, this is my new format where I share a little bit more behind the scenes of being a freelancer / entrepreneur, working in social media, and as well mindset tips, because that is the topic that comes up a lot in my own community and with my students. So today I really want to share a bit more of the ups and obviously also the downs of being your own boss, because what you see online is the highlight part and how great it is. I don't think a lot of people, including myself, share the downside. Also because I'm much more introverted and I don't necessarily want to go online and share my whole life with everybody. But I do want to share some things that come up for most people, but if you don't know it, you would think nobody else goes through that. So let's start with the biggest downside first. Or let's start with the upside and then go from there to the downside. So the upside, obviously, you have no boss to tell you what to do. You can do what you want, you can work with whom you want, and you can take on as many clients as you want, and therefore making technically an unlimited amount of money. However, obviously at one point you would run out of hours, so you would have to outsource and therefore you would compromise a little bit of your profit. But you can scale this way better than you can your 9 to 5, right? You have an income cap and maybe you get a raise, but it's usually not as massive as if you just onboard another client who pays you $2,000 more a month. So the downside of this is you have to constantly move your business forward. Nobody is going to do it for you. And that also means you constantly have to look for new clients, because if you don't, you can run into a situation where there is a month where you wouldn't have any more clients, aka no more money. So whereas the downside of the 9 to 5 is everything is very strict, you have rules and someone tells you what to do. You have all this freedom and you can do what you want as a freelancer, but now you really have to make sure that you constantly generate enough income. So in a 9 to 5, you have a stable income, and as a freelancer, you don't. And there is not one month, most of the time, where you make the same amount of money. So you have to be prepared for that. You kind of want to plan for this. So maybe you already want to start with a client on the side while you are still in your 9 to 5, because then you can still put some money on the side. Ideally, a lot of coaches online tell you ideally have 3 months salary on the side. If everything goes to shit, you still have some money on the side if you can. I always say try to onboard clients while you work, because also you might not love it. Maybe the whole freelance thing is not for you. And if you quit your 9 to 5 like I did drastically and you start taking on clients and you suddenly don't like it, or you can't find a client right away, it kind of creates that panic and you feel like, oh, now I need the money. And when you are in that situation, you most likely won't find a client. Your energy and your whole demeanor is going to project that, like that needy energy, right? You want to come from a place of, oh, I want to work with this client and I can serve these clients rather than I have to. So then when you have your clients, you still want to constantly calculate how much do you think you will make the next month. And that could be by either onboarding new clients in the meantime, because maybe some clients will have their contract not renewed, Or you want to think of ways that you could make a passive income so that you don't constantly have to run after clients. So the ideal world for me would be, for you would be that you have a few clients where you do the management, but then also you might have some products, so digital products that you could sell on a passive basis. So you just have it in your online shop. Or you could also do some coaching for other clients where you just do a one-off call. So have different streams of income and make sure that you constantly plan ahead. Like, okay, these 3 clients are going to finish in the next month. I should start looking for a new client now. Rather than what happened to me, that at one point suddenly all clients at the same time stopped working with me for all different reasons, but their contract all finished. And I was so happy that I had this many clients that it never even occurred to me to look for new clients, because I felt like I don't want to work too much, right? And so then I literally panicked, because I was like, okay, that means the next month I have no money, and I didn't put money on the side either. So that is something, as a freelancer, you really want to be the boss of your own finances. You really want to be in touch with that. If you not already are, start thinking about that now. Start putting parts of your salary on a different bank account. Start thinking of planning ahead, because you are really your own boss. And yes, nobody tells you what to do, but that also means you actually have to be self-motivated to also do the task you might not like, or you might not even think about that might be your task, right? So you kind of are the social media manager if you work as a freelance social media manager, but you're at the same time a CEO, and you're at the same time the CFO. So you want to be in charge of that as well. Now, obviously, if let's say you're in a marriage and your husband also has an income, that would be more helpful because it can stabilize it. But I always suggest that you try to not think of that, because then you will come up with more creative solutions on how you can make sure that you actually bring in enough money. So that's definitely a big downside. And then the other downside, obviously, is there are times where you are not motivated. There are times where maybe it goes slow, or maybe you just don't love your client at the moment, yet you still have to get up, even though you don't have to get up at that point, but you still have to do the work. You don't have to do it that day. That's again the positive. You have a flexible schedule. You might not want to do it during the day because it's sunny, you want to go out swimming, you can do. But that doesn't mean you don't have to do it. And I think a lot of the times we kind of get this misconception on social media, oh, travel the world and like make an income online, but it still means you have to work. And especially when you travel, you will have to sacrifice time from your travels where you actually sit down in front of your laptop and work. And that's what you don't see online. And to be honest, I also don't share that because you're in such a focused mode. But a lot of the times we forget that when you travel, you have to make a very specific timetable when I'm going to explore and when I'm actually going to work. So whether you do home office or you travel the world and do everything remotely, you still have to work. Being a freelancer still means it's a job, and nobody is going to get you out of bed, and nobody's going to tell you you have to work. You don't have to work, but then also you might not make an income. So it's all down to you, and that sometimes can create a little bit of a pressure. So I don't think I need to share with you all the upsides. You know these, right? Like, you have the freedom, you can do what you want. Nobody is constantly telling you when to show up, what to do, but you also have all the responsibilities, the financial one, the one of your timetable, and a lot of the times also from your clients, right? You have the responsibility to show up for them. So these things we sometimes don't think about, and especially when we work remotely or look into the social media accounts of remote workers, like I used to do for 8 years, we don't see that they also have to sit down and work a lot of the time. So remember that before you make the decision. I would never in a million years go back. I love that I chose this for me, but it's also not for everybody, and that's fine. So that's why I say, as a freelancer, try to do it on the side if you can and see if you even love it. And there's no shame in saying like, oh, I actually don't love it. I want to do something different. That's the good thing with these kind of jobs. You can give it a try and see how you love it. Let me know in the comments below if you already work as a freelancer, and if so, what are your ups and downs? See you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.